If you had to advise the finance minister or the infrastructure secretary today, what would be your top three recommendations?
Protect capital expenditure at all costs.
We saw Operation Epic Fury and the Strait of Hormuz was closed for the first time in the history of the world. The oil prices surged from $70 to now $100 today, and they are expected to move further if the situation remains like this. How do you compare the scale of this crisis with the past crisis?
Very serious for taking the infrastructure momentum forward.
Yes.
And the growth forward.
From a macro financing standpoint, what does this mean for India's infrastructure ambitions?
India's crude basket has jumped from $80 per barrel to about approximately $140 per barrel. If you look at the economics, the rule of thumb says that every $10 per barrel increase, it affects the current account deficit of India by about $15,000 billion. So we are looking at a $40 to $60 per barrel increase, which means we are looking at a $60 billion to $90 billion increase in our current account deficit. Added to this, every $10 per barrel increase, it will impact the GDP by 0.2 to 0.3%. And it will add about 0.2% to the inflation.
Namaskar and a very warm welcome to all of you. I am Rajiv Chadha, Director of Adisri Strategic Advisor and also founder of Adisri Infradesk, which is a newly introduced news portal. Well, today's discussion is extremely important, and I think everybody associated with the infrastructure industry in India should listen to this particular conversation. And I'm very honored to have Dr. P.R. Jaishankar with me today. Dr. Jaishankar is ex-CMD of IIFCL. He is MBA Finance from FMS Delhi and MTech from IIT Delhi. He is also known as the turnaround CMD, definitive turnaround CMD of infrastructure finance in India. So, Dr. Jaishankar, very warm welcome to you for this conversation, a very important conversation, I should say. And I would also like to say that Dr. Jaishankar has decided to mentor us for this new news portal. He will be associated with us and guide us towards creating an ecosystem for the infrastructure industry in India.
Thank you, Rajiv. It's my pleasure to be here. And let me say that this topic which you have chosen is very timely, considering the events that we are witnessing today, and looking at the way in which the world has evolved. And in my 40 years of experience in the financial sector, I can say, having seen all the various crises, right from the balance of payment and the Gulf War in 1991 to the East Asian crisis and global financial crisis in the later part of the earlier part of the new millennium. And then you had the COVID and the NPAs and the Ukraine conflicts.
Yes.
So I think, this conflict seems to be culminating into a very dangerous, uniquely dangerous energy crisis for the world at large.
Right.
So it's very important that we discuss and see where we are headed and what we should do.
Yeah.
And if we do not respond with the urgency and clarity,
Yes.
the energy in the infrastructure momentum that we have developed so far would be left behind.
So, yeah, thank you. So, Dr. Jaishankar, let us start with the scale of what has happened. I think we saw Operation Epic Fury, which was launched on 28th of February this year. And the Strait of Hormuz was closed for the first time in the history of the world, I think I should say that. The oil prices surged from $70 to now $100 today, and they are expected to move further if the situation remains like this. Now, considering what has happened, the various crises that you just mentioned, before this, the scale of this crisis, how do you compare the scale of this crisis with the past crisis?
This is a very, very pertinent question, Rajiv. I think, you see, let me put this in perspective with some hard numbers. Uh, According to the International Energy Agency, I quote, the largest supply disruption in the history of global oil market. This is what they have said.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I was also reading that. Yeah.
This is not just a hyperbole.
Yeah.
We are talking of Brent crude hitting
Yeah.
$119 per barrel, a 60% surge in the
Yes.
prices.
Yes.
In the Gulf crisis in 1991, it was mainly the Iraq and the Kuwait, which was, geographically contained, and the kind of price spike was there, but it was geographically contained. In the Russian crisis, the Ukraine and Russian war crisis, the routes were diversified and they were rerouted, the transportation. But for the first time here, we have simultaneous disruptions in both the Red Sea as well as the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah.
What I call this crisis uniquely dangerous is a double choke point problem.
Yeah. Yes.
So 20% of global oil flows from these two regions, and now that has come to almost a halt, and that is the most critical issue that we face today.
Yes.
As compared to the 1991, the disruption, like I said, it was geographically contained, and then in Ukraine crisis also, it was the physical supply of infrastructure was rerouted. But here we are facing almost a complete blockade, cascading effects into infrastructure, from material pricing to logistic costs increasing, and to project financing, all unprecedented and very, very serious for infrastructure, for taking the infrastructure momentum forward.
Yes.
And the growth forward.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's a very pertinent point. It's a double choke point. Not only the supply chain has been disrupted, and also the oil prices have surged. So is it that the whole supply chain architecture has been disrupted? Do you think that way?
Thing is, what many commentators miss is the headlines is given as oil at $119, but the real story is that of systemic disruption to every input that passes through this region.
Right, right. Yeah, so this, brings me to a very, very important question. We import 84% of our crude oil, roughly 55% of our crude, 55% of LNG, and 88% of our LNG transit through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, from a macro financing standpoint, what does this mean for India's infrastructure ambitions?
The numbers are, they are revealing a very clear story. India's crude basket has jumped from $80 per barrel to about approximately $140 per barrel. Now, if you look at the economics, as CNBC has reported, the rule of thumb says that for every $10 per barrel increase, it affects the current account deficit of India by about 15,000 billion rupees, $15,000 billion.
Okay.
So we are looking at a $40 to $60 per barrel increase, which means we are looking at a $60 billion to $90 billion increase in our current account deficit. Added to this, every $10 per barrel increase will affect it will impact the GDP by 0.2 to 0.3%. And it will add about 0.2% to the inflation. So it's a combined effect that we are now faced with. And with India's growth being pitched at 7 to 7.4%, there is definitely a downside risk.
Okay.
In addition to this, there is a specific India infrastructure kicker,
Yeah.
which actually in which the stabilization fund carved out as a 6-point program, carving out about $2 billion from the road and railway projects.
Yeah.
That is supposed to form a kind of an enhancement or a protection for the crisis that we are facing. So now we face a triple whammy. One, higher input costs for the projects. Two, the potentially reduced capex from the government. And three, pressure to contain the interest rates, therefore tightening monetary measures.
Yeah, okay. So, yes, so I think this is deeply concerning, because if there is cut in the infrastructure budgets, then I think people like me who are into infrastructure financing, PPP, and also the infrastructure sector will be greatly disappointed. Now, are we, looking at more cuts, or, do you think that will actually happen on ground?
Yeah, this union budget highlighted the 12.2 trillion rupee figure as a landmark commitment for infrastructure. And the landmark commitment would mean very little if the fiscal space is consumed by stabilization and energy subsidies.
Right.
So what happens is, if such government capex gets reduced, infrastructure bears the first brunt. And because the political cost of reducing the infrastructure cost would be lower than cutting the food or fuel subsidies.
Right, right. So I think there has been some response from the government. The government has cut the excise duty on petrol, diesel, and also export duty on aviation fuel. Now, as the former head of India's premier infrastructure finance institution, do you think the fiscal response by the government is adequate?
The 10 rupee per liter excise cut, if I may say, it is definitely, it gives some breather.
Right.
It actually meets the immediate needs,
Right.
because that's something which government obviously looks at.
Right.
But whether it's sufficient, I do not think it's sufficient.
Okay.
It's an insufficient response.
Right.
But if you look at it, the excise cut giving the breathing room, the government must simultaneously ring fence the cost escalation. I think there is where the main solution lies.
Okay.
And we need an emergency infrastructure cost escalation framework. We have the current price adjustment formulas by NHAI and other central agencies. They are meant for normal, cost escalation and normal volatility.
Okay.
Not for such unprecedented, $40 to $60 per barrel increase in prices or something
Right.
like that.
Right.
So we need to dramatically, have some solutions for this, and you have to look at cost escalations in a very, very with a very, very aggressive, in an aggressive mode. At the same time, we have to also look at financial institutions which also have the indirect impact of all these things. We must increase our multilateral programs, engagements. We must look at long-term, mobilizing long-term capital. We must look at getting credit enhancements for our systems.
Okay.
And we must look at all those enabling factors which can, strengthen our financial system.
Right. Right. Yeah. So let's talk about what is happening on the ground. Now, at the project site level, steel is up 24%, PVC pipes 25%, and bitumen, which is the lifeline of road builders, has surged almost 40%. The prices have really jumped. How this substantial increase in the input cost will impact the project viability, especially the PPP and the EPC contractors?
Well, steel prices have moved approximately 62,000 to 72,000 rupees per ton, which according to Hindu Business Line adds roughly about 50 rupees per square feet for high-rise high-rise construction. This may sound modest in isolation, but for a project with 2 million square feet of built-up area, this is about 10 crore rupees increase.
Right.
PVC pipes, again, 25% up, directly impacts the Jal Jeevan mission, urban water supply networks,
Right.
and some of our most critical social infrastructure programs. Then there's bitumen, which is about 40% increase in bitumen is nothing short devastating for
Right.
road projects particularly. And those, and Bharatmala,
Yeah.
and for those contractors who are mainly, working with fixed price road contracts. If we look at road construction is bitumen intensive, and these contractors, they thrive on this assumption of the stable input costs. So the cost escalation does not stop, but then the cost escalation does not stop at materials. It goes, now beyond that, and due to the logistics which need to also be made available.
Right. Right.
And now with delays of the shipping, the logistic cost increases are expected to be at about 1.5 to 3.5 lakh per container.
I see.
And in addition to that, we also have war risk premiums, which again may be about 2 lakh rupees to 3.5 lakh rupees per container.
Right.
So we are seeing an overall increase of about 10 to 12% very modestly
Okay.
as a project cost increase
Right.
estimate, and which is a very, very significant one. And for highway contractors with fixed price EPCs, this seems to be even more, constraining.
I see. Okay. So, Dr. Jayashankar, you have pioneered credit enhancement, takeout finance, blended finance instruments at IFCL. Now, in the current environment of rising cost and uncertainty, which financing innovation becomes most critical?
The current crisis is something which, is, I would put it, you have to look at it from a two-pronged perspective. One, in case the project cost increases, how we have to deal with that situation.
Yeah.
So NPA crisis of the past seems to, throw a lot of ideas on how we can, deal with this situation, because we need to have a flexibility in dealing with cost escalations. I think that is what the central agencies must focus on. And the financial institutions also must follow. And particularly the regulator of the financial institutions must give a more, must have a more conducive approach for such situations. The Reserve Bank of India is well aware, I'm sure, and would be looking at this. And the other point is mainly in so far as the credit enhancements and the various other type of financial mechanisms which can be brought in for this purpose, because the financial institutions uh, do not have direct control on cost control. So I feel they would need to look more creatively at the liability side, and see how best they can have uh, better protection measures like credit enhancements, blended finance from various multilateral. They can actually, borrow from multilateral agencies and club it with market borrowings and have a more cost-effective and longer-term financing, and at the same time look at how their assets can be protected through a more proactive line through this blended finance and credit enhancement liabilities that they can bring in. And at the same time, I think it needs. I think this is a very, very unprecedented problem, and we need more creative solutions. So I think the leaderships in financial institutions need to understand this and act more proactively rather than reactively for facing this kind of situation.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So actually, I just want to build on your idea of blended finance. Now, I think you are very right that we need to have blended finance as one option. Uh, India has still a very long way to go as far as the blended finance concept is concerned, and we need to de-risk the projects with different layers of financing. Now, can you just give me a sense of the multilateral financing that we have that India can get?
The multilateral financial institutions definitely offer longer term finances
Okay.
at a relatively cost effective structure, because the longer term, the proportionate costs of that longer term structure available in the market would definitely be, higher. Same time, we are in a position to also negotiate and navigate for obtaining of the balance sheet, supports, non-funded supports. So I think these non-funded supports and off-balance sheet supports also can mean a lot for the financial institutions. So credit enhancements, for example, when we in IIFCL came out with the first credit enhancement structure in Indian infrastructure finance in 2014, it was the Asian Development Bank which actually participated along with IIFCL.
Okay.
So they were holding the second loss while IIFCL had the first loss. This happened for some time, and when and IIFCL could gradually, become solo credit enhancers. IIFCL also went on to bring in more credit enhancers from the domestic market, like the IRIDA. We actually handheld IRIDA for doing their first credit enhancement, that in the renewable energy segment. So I think we need to look more from participating and moving together, because the kind of volumes that we are seeing and the kind of opportunities which may I would say asymmetric opportunities which may arise out of this kind of crisis could be different. And renewable energy, like I said, could become a very, very important area, because reliance on fossil fuel
Yeah.
and the traditional energy would again would need to be replaced, and we would need to look more at green renewable energies and storage.
Right.
So I think the multilateral system supports all these with a very, very good discount on and concession on pricing.
Right, right. Yeah, so I think let's come to the rupee now. The rupee has hit record lows. It has become very volatile with RBI intervening at times. And then, after about 10, 15 days, again, it hits a new low. How does this impact the economies of the infrastructure projects, number one? And what kind of hedging strategies do you suggest?
Infrastructure projects have a significant proportion of forex to fund their costs, mainly in the ports, in mass transit programs like the metro projects, airlines. So we have many projects actually, having significant forex lines. There, the hedging strategies will become very important in this kind of
Right.
situations, because obviously on one side, we are looking at almost 30 to 40% of the project cost covered by the forex. So if for every every rupee, I would say every percentage fall of the rupee, the percentage of the increase of project cost would be significant. So natural hedging would definitely be a very, very important area. Like for ports, natural hedging is very, very common. But for some of the other, infrastructure projects like the metro, this would be again a challenge.
Right.
So because their, rolling stock is mostly,
Yes.
dependent on the forex.
Right.
So there is where we need to have long-term hedging strategies, and I would say it is better to hedge ab initio
Okay.
and ensure that the total project cost and the total liabilities for the project on account of such forex cost should be as optimized as possible while design stage is during the design stage itself.
Right.
So I think that would make the projects much more safer from a risk management point of view.
Right. Yeah. So, Dr. Jaishankar, Indian EPC companies and consultancies have a very significant presence in the Gulf. Now, what opportunities and risks do you see for the Indian infrastructure firms in this change landscape?
The opportunities are substantial, and so are the risks, which are equally real.
Yes.
And Indian firms should navigate all these things.
Yeah.
On the opportunities side, we see the GCC's pivot to resilience infrastructure plays a very, very direct role to the strengths of Indian EPCs or EPC companies. And we have deep expertise in pipeline construction. We have deep expertise in industrial constructions,
Yes.
logistics facilities, and transport networks. And we are well positioned to capture significant share of the diversification and reconstruction projects that will emerge.
Right.
The rupee depreciation actually makes Indian firms much more competitive in dollar-denominated Gulf markets.
Right.
On the risk side, the Indian firms operating in the Gulf should be extremely vigilant about three things. One is the payment delays.
Okay.
Two is the disputes,
Right.
which could arise out of such delays, and these are very, very common.
Right.
And three, a better risk management to have a war risk insurance and the risk management to actually cover all the eventualities that might arise out of such conflicts. So, as far as the delays and the disputes are concerned, I think the overarching message could be you can be aggressive about pursuing opportunities, but be rigorous in the contract structuring, insurance, and risk management.
I see. Okay. Yeah, that's quite interesting. Now, if you had to advise the finance minister or the infrastructure secretary today, what would be your top three recommendations?
One, protect capital expenditure at all costs.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Because
So you are suggesting protection of capital expenditure at this point of time?
yes, because I think stabilization funds and energy subsidies, they may be breathers, they may be required,
Right.
but at the same time, capital expenditure allocations and capital expenditure budgets, which are intended to keep up the growth momentum, must be kept alive at all costs.
Right.
So I think that's very, very important.
Yeah.
We have to find ways and means to actually address this.
Right.
Infrastructure project, the sacrifices in the infrastructure project expenditures must be kept to a minimum.
Right. Okay.
Number two, I think we must urgently revise price adjustment formulas.
I see.
We must be more flexible. The central agencies must become more flexible in this, and they must adopt such price adjustment formulas which allow for such cost escalations.
Right.
Though the escalations, in fixed price contracts are much more pronounced, even in the energy contracts, which are more pass-through, in theory they are, but actually, there a lot remains in the practice. So I think price adjustment is a very, very key area which has to be considered. And third is the fast tracking of domestic renewable energy and alternative energy projects, which has to be improved and grown.
Yes.
In order to replace and help us to migrate from fossil fuel energy to renewable energy.
Right.
Being a renewable energy nation.
Okay.
And storage. At the same time, we have to also improve storage to improve the efficiencies in this.
Right.
I would also add a fourth recommendation.
Yeah.
For the regulators in the financial sector to actually look at conducive regulations for financial institutions. In order to give more empowerment to financial institutions to decide their NPAs, to decide their assets and liabilities more flexibly, and carry on with the kind of support that they are providing to infrastructure projects, as they were doing in the past.
Right. Yeah. So very crystal clear recommendation. I think the policymakers should listen, and this is the kind of strategic advice or recommendation that is required for the infrastructure industry today. Now, Dr. Jaishankar, before we wind up today, I think one final message for the infrastructure professionals, developers, contractors, and policymakers who are listening to our podcast.
Well, I think I should compliment Adisri Infradesk.
Yeah, thank you so much.
This is a very, very timely discussion that we have had.
Yeah.
And I have been associated with other discussions as well. And every discussion I feel is very, very enriching.
Yes.
And I learn a lot from discussing with you also.
Yes.
So I think the message is about keeping ourselves abreast about the things which are happening around us, and at the same time spread the word, spread the message of trying to contribute to the growth of the nation by through a very, very informed discussion. I think that's something which I would see, which
Okay.
is happening in this portal.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I also learn a lot, by discussing with you, and I think we have done a few podcasts in the past also. Yeah, so for our listeners, thank you for joining this very important conversation today. If you are in the infrastructure, whether as a developer, contractor, or as a financer, consultant, or policymaker, we encourage you to visit Adisri Infradesk at www.adisriinfradesk.com, and also Adisri Strategic Advisors for full range of our advisory services and intelligence services. So you can reach out to us at corporate@adisristrategic.com. And until next time, this is Rajiv Chadha wishing you all the best and success. Thank you so much. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much.